What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Today, we're going to be beginning my conference previews this week. This week, we're going to be focusing on which teams can make the college football playoff out of each and every conference. Today, we're starting with the SEC. So, we're going to break it down, talk about which teams I think can make the playoff. We've kind of got them broken into some tiers. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. Join me down in the comment section as we go along. Let me know which teams out of the SEC you think can make the college football playoff this year and why. All right, so first off, looking at the teams in the SEC, you've got Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, A&M, and Texas, and Vanderbilt. SEC, widely heralded as probably the best conference. Get a lot of teams constantly. They're probably going to get multiple teams in. Now, how many? Just depends. At the worst, they're probably doing 3. But you could see as many as 4 or 5 get in, if not more. So let's go ahead and look at it. First off, this is the team that I think is a bit of a sleeper, wild card. This is the only one I've got in this category, and that is Arkansas. Now, highly unlikely they make the playoff, but if all goes right, there is a chance because I think they've got talent. Their quarterback in particular, Taylen Green, formerly of Boise State, really awesome dual threat quarterback. He can kind of do it all. Really tall stature. He can run. He can pass. He can do it all. Now, I think he's good enough to win them some games they shouldn't win. Not saying they're going to make the playoff, but if there is a wild card that's not being talked about, it's Arkansas. All right, so next up, we're getting into, I would say, the long shots, but there is a chance. So unlikely, but there is a chance. Starting off Tennessee. Now, their roster is not near as good as it was last year. We can go ahead and say that. They lost a lot of guys to the draft, to the transfer portal. It's an overhauled roster. You've got Nico obviously going to UCLA, so you got to replace him at quarterback. Look like it's probably going to be Joey Aguilar from Appalachian State. This is more just a belief in Josh Heupel than anything because this roster itself is not playoff ready, I don't think. But Josh Heupel is a very good coach. He's good enough to win them ball games by himself. And Tennessee, if all falls right and Josh Heupel is able to keep games close and then manipulate it coaching-wise at the end, I think Tennessee could get in. Excuse me. Sorry. Losing my voice here. Next up, A&M, same category still. Pretty solid season year one under Mike Elko. Defensively, they're going to be good. The biggest question mark for me with them is Marcel Reed at quarterback. They've brought in some good weapons through the portal. We got Kevin KC Concepcion from NC State, a receiver, really big not dual threat, really big weapon, out wide. But for Marcel Reed, we know he can run, but how good is his passing? Kind of looked a little lackluster at times last year, but he's going to offer you that ground game potential. But hopefully adding him that outside threat can help him out. But this is still an unlikely category to me. Next up, Ole Miss, still in that same category. Lane Kiffin has done a good job, but if they couldn't make the playoff of the roster they had last year, it's probably not happening this year. They lost so much. In particular, Jackson Dart at quarterback, replacing him was going to be tough. They had an awesome transfer portal class. If they couldn't make the playoff with that roster, how the heck are they going to do it with this roster? And that's why they're still in this unlikely category for me. Vanderbilt, also in that category. Pretty good year last year for Vanderbilt. Now, the reason for optimism for me here is Diego Pavia, obviously. He's good enough to win you games by himself, keep them in games. Vanderbilt beat Alabama last year. Now, they kind of got manhandled sometimes against some teams, but their roster is good enough. It's improved from last year. They've given Pavia some weapons, but their schedule is brutal. All right, so next up, we're moving into the not guaranteed, but pretty likely they're going to make the playoff. Starting off South Carolina. First off, before we even dive into South Carolina, go look at their schedule. No reason South Carolina can't go undefeated. Right now, I've actually got them in the SEC championship, not necessarily because their roster, but that schedule is nice. But LaNorris Sellers is good enough to run the table in this conference. They were this close to making the playoff last year. They were in the conversation with Ole Miss, Alabama. And in comparison to those two teams, South Carolina is the only one that brings their quarterback back. LaNorris Sellers probably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft next year. Could win you a Heisman. He's kind of Cam Newton-ish, except I think he can throw the ball a little better. He can run. He can pass. He's a big figure. I like this South Carolina team. I think they'll be in the playoff. Next up, Florida. DJ Lagway at quarterback. A lot of potential there. I think this is Billy Napier's best team he has had. I think they did the right thing, giving him one extra year, because I think this is the team that can finally get him over the hump and get Florida back to the playoff. I like the pieces that are in place for Florida. I think they'll be in the playoff this year. LSU, you got Garrett Nussmeier coming back, puts up some seriously good numbers, probably the favorite right now to win the Heisman. Now, this is probably the team I'm the least high on out of all the teams in this category right here that we're talking about that are probably in. But Brian Kelly hasn't done it yet at LSU. And if he hasn't done it yet, what makes you believe it's going to happen this year? I don't know. Garrett Nussmeier is good, but they lose a lot of pieces from the O-line and other places. So Garrett Nussmeier is going to have some other guys step up to help him out. And really, when I've watched Nussmeier, I haven't been that impressed. I know he puts up good numbers, but when I've watched him, I haven't been super impressed. Alabama is still in the same category. Got to replace not Jalen Hurts, Jalen Milroe at quarterback. Now, Kalen DeBoer, he's had a full year now as Alabama coach, so he's kind of got his culture in there now. He's a good coach, made the national championship with Washington. He's proven he can do it. But can he do it in the SEC at Alabama? They lost a lot to the draft, but they also have a lot of dudes coming back that are going to be in the draft next year. It's going to depend on what they can do at the quarterback position, I think. If that can hit for them, I think Alabama's in good shape. All right, so now we're with the last two. These are the teams that I think are guaranteed to be in the playoff, even if they could probably lose 3 games and they're still getting in. First off, Texas. Arch Manning stepping in for Quinn Ewers. You've got a lot to replace from that with Quinn Ewers' production as far as winning-wise, but Texas probably has the most first-round NFL draft talent out of everybody in the country almost. Again, you got to replace Quinn, but you've got probably the best running back room in the country. You've got an awesome defense that is back. Probably you could argue the number 1 defense as well. You've got to replace the skill guys, though. Receivers are gone. Tight end's gone. But Arch Manning, we'll see what he's made of. The pieces are in place at running back and on defense. I think, though, for this team to be successful, they'll be in the playoff again. And then Georgia. Got to replace the quarterback, obviously, Carson Beck, but I thought Gunnar Stockton looked pretty good in the playoff. I didn't think he played bad, just his skill guys kind of let him down. He would hit them in stride. They dropped the ball. Georgia, though, I think will be in the SEC championship. I think they'll make the playoff. Gunnar Stockton, even if he's not the best quarterback ever, Georgia usually doesn't have that guy anyway. Kirby Smart, though, good enough to get this team back to the playoffs. So those are my teams that I think will be in the playoff out of the SEC. But who would you take off of this list? Who would you add to this list? Who do you think gets in the playoff for the SEC? Let me know. If you did enjoy this video, if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for me. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. But comment your thoughts down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.